not once, but twice. Unfortunately, the big fella Damian Woody is home with a voice. But we are going to smash helmets today in his honor. We'll take you through winners in every game. Now, usually on these Thursdays, I begin with bold predictions. I might look here or here or here, but hold everything. Cindy, put the picks on the screen. Monday night, everyone but me has Dallas going one and done in these playoffs. Bartholomew, why are the Cowboys going to lose to Tampa Tom?
I tell you what, because Tampa Tom is getting reinforcements. He's having his defensive line. They're healthy. And I just don't like the way that Dak Prescott is playing. He's turning the ball over, and in the playoffs, if you throw a pick six, it can be very, very costly. But the bigger story is who job is going to cost. Do you have to pick between Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy, or are you picking between Dan Quinn? Because if they lose, the mandate was deep in the playoffs. That's what Jerry Jones told us at the beginning of the season. And if they fall short, you're going to have to pick between one of those coordinators because they're going to have opportunities at head coaching jobs. Mike McCarthy is coaching for his life.
See, that's what I think, too. And Dan Graziano, let's be clear. Yes. Jerry Jones said on the radio the other day a definitive no to the question, is Mike McCarthy coaching for his job? Now, the point I made on the radio yesterday is, this is the problem with the owner doing a radio interview every single week. What is he going to say? Oh, yes, I'm firing the coach if they lose on Monday. That's really not a question he can answer any other way, is it?
No, right. He wasn't going to say that, right, he's coaching for his job this weekend. That would be unprecedented. It would be awesome.
Yes.
But it would be unprecedented.
That's right.
So, no, I think, but I do think we should put more stock into it than some people seem inclined to. Because when you look at Jerry's recent history, the year after year with Jason Garrett, right, he would say things like this, and it turned out to be true. The one year he kind of hemmed and hawed and said, well, we'll see at the end of the season. That was the year it turned out not to be. He turned out not to be safe. So I do think that I think if they lose Monday, especially if it looks bad, you know, I think there's a conversation that they have in the building. I don't know which way it goes. It's ultimately up to Jerry. He likes this coach. He wants this coach to succeed. And I think there's a conversation, but I do think we should put some stock into what Jerry said and take him at his word to at least some extent.
Let me ask the question a little differently to you, Rob Ninkovich. I mean, it is worth saying out loud that the coach has won 12 games in consecutive seasons. So, I mean, there are a lot of coaches who have their jobs still coming off of seasons in which they haven't had nearly the success they've had in Dallas. In your mind, if Jerry Jones decides to make a change here, will that be fair? Will Mike McCarthy deserve to be out of a job?
Sure, it's fair. If they lose in the first round of the playoffs, it is an epic failure for the Dallas Cowboys. You think about this team and the way that they're built and what they have invested in their quarterback, in their running back, in their defense. They have to win this game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not a team that we looked at this whole season and said in the playoffs they're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. So
you look at the Dallas Cowboys the last couple of years. They're in the top of the league in penalties. You remember last year with the time management issues. We've looked back at some of the clock management issues before the half and after the game, and they're looking at the head coach. And then you look at Dak Prescott and turning the football over. And then even this year, they've had ability to stop the run. They've had a hard time stopping the run, this defense that we had so highly praised. So again, if they lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it would not be out of the question for me that they move on and look for a different head coach of this team.
Here's the reality. When the offense plays well, Kellen Moore gets the praise. When the defense plays well, Dan Quinn gets the praise. When the team plays bad, Mike McCarthy gets all the blame. So the thing is, he's in a situation where he can't win. And we've seen Jerry pick the smart offensive coach. And that's where the game is going. And we know that Kellen Moore has already been interviewed or is going to get interviewed by the Carolina Panthers. So Jerry has done this before. He tried it already, right? He made Dan Quinn the highest paid assistant and one of the highest paid defensive coordinators because he understands his value. But the big elephant in the room is Sean Payton. Sean Payton's name is going to be rumored at every job opening there. And you talk about a guy that already has admiration and respect, and he can say all he said in the offseason, but listen, the shadow and the elephant in the room is Sean Payton. And if Sean Payton is out there, or if Kellen Moore is somebody that you may lose, I don't know if Jerry has as much faith in Mike McCarthy as those others.
Quickly, because I think Nick disagrees.
I think elevating Quinn or Moore is more likely than Payton. Remember, the Cowboy coaching job is very specific, right? It's not someone who has a lot of personnel control. It's not someone who can be the star of the show. That's going to be Jerry. So Mike McCarthy kind of fits.
And if anyone knows that, Sean Payton knows it. He was there. I remind everyone who doesn't know, Sean Payton was there under Bill Parcells. Go.
This is in the Cowboys' hands to protect Mike McCarthy's job here. They just have to win.
Yeah.
And if they go into the playoffs and they win and they get to an NFC Championship game, Mike McCarthy's still the head coach there.
Sure.
I'm talking about if he loses against the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Understood. Now, you just said the NFC Championship game. A win on Monday night would guarantee them, barring an upset that no one sees coming by Seattle this weekend, either a date in Philadelphia or San Francisco.
Yep.
You think he's got to win that game too in order to keep his job? We're talking about beating Tampa is one thing.
I think so.
Beating the Eagles or the Niners on the road is something else entirely.
I think that he has to get to a championship level game. I'm talking the NFC Championship that decides who's going to a Super Bowl. Jerry Jones has stated in the past few years that he wants to get back to those games.
Yeah.
He wants to be in those championship football games, and he is spending a lot of money to get to those championship football games.
All right, so we will have more on this game as we go, including a little later this hour. We will analyze what exactly is going on with the quarterback in Dallas. But meanwhile, let's talk about what's going on with the quarterback in Baltimore, who may not be the quarterback in Baltimore.
But you hear her say it in the video,
country,
though.
you go wherever you want.
He was at the club.
Right, so now you're on the plane, and you fall asleep. And sometimes the airline attendant has to come over and tell you to put on your seatbelt, and sometimes it's hard to wake you up. I've been shaken awake,
Or
right?
not even
Like,
that one, Max. Excuse me, sir. We're going to need you to just, your chair
Yeah,
is
your
slightly
chair's-
reclined. We're going to need you to.
Your chair's
but then-
1
but then-
inch, and they have to move it up.
Yeah, as much as we fly, we all know. It's simple and easy. You move the chair up, or they tell you, you groggy, you fall back down, they come back over, they say, hey,
gotta do it
can you
again.
do this,
Yeah.
can you do that? They stand and hover over you for a couple seconds, and then either you do it or they keep pestering you and bothering you, and it depends on who you get. Sometimes you get people that just have a bad day at work.
Yeah.
And they, no matter what you say, don't talk to me that. It's like,
Yeah,
well, I
not
didn't
even a bad
say
person,
anything to
just
you.
a bad day at work. They didn't sleep
Yeah.
a lot either.
Or
So-
can they do it, and then you do it, and then as soon as they leave, you recline the chair back.
Especially, by the way, especially if you get on the plane and you got your little plane outfit. Sometimes you
I
might
got a
have
plane outfit.
Yeah, right. Like in other words, you got some sweatpants that you put on, or
100%.
or
My
some
hoodie.
shorts or something
Yeah.
that you get comfy.
My hoodie,
Okay.
my dark glasses, my hat, and I pull him down where you only really gonna see this.
So the footage that has now been released is of Odell, and if you're watching on ESPNU, you can see it, but you can't hear it on the radio right now. But I've seen it online and heard the audio. The footage starts as an officer boards the plane and asks to speak with Odell. It then showed footage of a flight attendant saying that Odell refused to put his seatbelt on. Officers repeatedly tell Odell it was not their decision, but that he'd have to get off the plane. In fact, what the officer said was that he seems to be fine.
Yeah, they actually go back and have a conversation with the flight attendants and say, we see no problem here. He's okay. He just looks tired to me.
She claims he didn't have his pants on, that he wouldn't do it, but really, it's and listen, I don't know, I wasn't there, but now that having seen, look, in the service industry, guys, you will find a lot of what is called passive-aggressive behavior.
Yes.
In other words, they're fulfilling the obligation technically, but doing everything in their power to thwart you, right? To make sure you don't get. So, for example, passive-aggressive behavior, guys. I've been on a plane and I saw an attendant, an airline attendant, tell who asked like, "Oh, what do you have to drink?" And she said, "We have Coca-Cola products." As though this person would know the entire menu of Coca-Cola. This is before they had the little thing in the seat. Like she's being passive-aggressive, right? It seemed to me that Odell may have run into a passive-aggressive airline attendant, but I can't say for sure I wasn't there. Because I didn't
wasn't
see
there.
any reason to remove him from what I saw
Max
from that plane.
Kellerman, I wasn't there. So I don't know what transpired from the beginning and to the end when he got off the plane. But looking at the video and hearing the people, the flight attendants and the other guy, man, let me tell you something, man. I done been in that situation as a black man, okay? And people do get aggressive, passively aggressive. The moment that you try to explain something to them, they don't want to hear it. You know, they make up stuff and stretch the truth. She's saying OBJ didn't have his pants on. So the first thing that you hear is that he didn't have his pants on. You think, well, he's down to his drawers. Oh, God, he's got okay, well, we both know that wasn't the case because the dude on the video said, man, the guy got his pants on. The police officer says he got his pants on. What are you talking about? Did he have on sweats and shorts underneath, which most likely from my investigating that that's what happened. And he said, I'm hot, so I'm going to take my sweats off with my shorts underneath. But she said he didn't have on no pants.
Well, maybe he had a sweatshirt that covered it and she couldn't see it.
I'm just so happy that the video actually is now out, because what has happened with this story is when there's no video, it becomes hearsay. Yeah. And a lot of the stories that media was reacting to were reactions of other passengers on the plane who were mad at him for having everybody removed.
Oh, okay,
and that became the story.
Let's back
Instead of
up.
now
Jay's
seeing
right.
this, and you're like, well, wait a second.
But go over that
They
detail,
had no
Jay.
context to even understand how I even got to that point.
Jay, go over that.